is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get when you mess with us. Come on, buddy. I've been all I can. It's not enough. I'm giving all I can, but we're still on the payroll. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get when you mess with us. For a minute there, I lost myself. I lost myself. Feel for a minute there, I lost myself. I lost Oh, for a minute there, I lost myself. I lost myself. Feel for a minute there, I lost myself. I lost myself.
Hey guys, let me just get this song out of the way here. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a good Wednesday. Oh, good gal. Oh, that is so sweet. All right, I'm going to get us started today. We got a lot to cover, and there's so much distraction going on. Just a quick note that I have some help today. So my husband, who doesn't want to be mentioned, but I did anyways, is monitoring the chat to help me out a little bit so I don't miss out on the important messages you guys are sending out. So if there's any questions or anything like that, I hope I won't miss it anymore because I do have more help now. So it's awesome. So if everybody could do a big shout out to Jim in the chat, who's just in the background here, and yeah, being super awesome and supportive as always. So thank you, David. Hi, Tam. I hope you're doing well, Tam. How do we fight? There's the only. This is the answer. Is this the answer you wanted, Tam? We fight. We fight back. My hair's super poofy. I didn't have any assistance doing anything, so I'm so sorry. I just look like hell, but I'm just gonna have to keep going no matter what. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Faye. See, big shout out to you over there, Jim. So. T. Dot, hello. David, oh my gosh, the compliments. You're so awesome. Tam, we don't escape Canada. There is no escaping. We just keep going. We fight. But I have a whole show lined up today to show you what to not lose sight of as we enter this fight. So I'm finding there is a lot of distractions happening right now in the media, which I'm not very happy with. And I understand that there are problems in the world. So yeah, there's the whole Ukraine thing right now. But what's really, oh, there's Jim in the chat. Anna, hi, Anna. I think, Anna, you're from Poland, right? I believe Anna's from Poland. I hope things are going okay for you out there. And then here's, who do we have here? Sergey, 84. Stuart, yes, unvaxxed people. We are all, a lot of us are unvaxxed. A lot of us are vaxxed. And again, I have to say, guys, I am not upset or anything with anybody's choices here, because this is a welcoming channel. We welcome everybody here, including people who disagree with us and throw hurls, what is it, arguments? What's the word I'm looking for? They throw insults at us. So anybody is welcome here. Even if you want to disagree with me, you're more than welcome. So anyways, the Ukraine is happening right now, the whole war between Russia and Ukraine. Today is March 2nd, just for reference for the future historians who will be looking at these streams. And we have all of our media is now focused on that. There's barely any. So my question, really, first question here is, what happened? What happened to COVID? Because until now, COVID was pretty active everywhere, and now I don't hear much about it anyways. So that's a big question. There was for a long time, there was the Justin Trudeau push for the vax, and then every day was COVID numbers, and all of a sudden this all dropped. Trudeau stopped talking about the COVID vax when the truckers went to Ottawa, and he hasn't mentioned it very much since then. I think he made one tweet about it. So a lot of people are focused on that. And as much as it pains me that there is a war somewhere in the world is always at war. Somewhere, some place, some societies are always going to have warfare. It's just, as somebody who studied history, there is always warfare. And we cannot allow that to distract us from what is happening here, because I believe to a certain extent, these warfares that is happening, what's happening with the Ukraine, is a distraction for us. They're trying to distract us from what is happening in Canada. They're trying to avoid a future trial, which is imminently coming, for all of the politicians who have actually forced these crimes against humanity on us. So there's always been problems in Ukraine. So I'm not a specialist in Ukraine. I'm not even going to go on in on that. I'm not even going to put my opinion on what's going on in Russia and in Ukraine. I'm more specialized in the USSR. So when Ukraine was part of Russia, I don't really know too much since then. But what I do know is that there has been a lot of contention and issues in Ukraine for a lot of years. This is not new. But yet all of a sudden the media is saying, oh my gosh, we all have to pay attention to what's going on in the Ukraine. Now, here's another question I have for you guys, and you can give me your opinion, and please give me your opinion in the chat. But Chrystia Freeland, who is our deputy prime minister, ex-minister of finance. Is she still minister of finance? I think she's still minister. She's dual role. She's minister of finance and deputy prime minister. And she is either part Ukrainian or complete Ukrainian, but living in Canada. My question is, with her being at the head of everything now, donating millions of dollars to the Ukraine, and we're going to look at that tonight. But tell me, is this not a conflict of interest in any way? Is this not? I'm in the private sector, and in the private sector, I can guarantee you that if we had a president or a CEO that was in the same situation Chrystia Freeland is in, that person would be considered to be at conflict of interest and would be removed from that position for this specific task. So my question to you, and this is something I'm truly seeking to understand, because I don't know the public sector as much as I know the private sector, is this not a conflict of interest within the public sector as well, to have an ex-Ukrainian or a Ukrainian descendant to be spearheading all of the propaganda, all of the funds, all of what we are told about the Ukraine? I don't know. Tell me what you think. Yeah, and everybody, if you want to go check out Phil Brown's channel, let me see if I can pull it up, you guys, because this is an important thing to look at. He's on YouTube as well. I don't know if I can pull up YouTube without messing up my own sound, but Phil Brown is on YouTube, and he has a video on there about a guy who's talking about all of the current and past wars that have been going on in the Ukraine, the current situation. He gives a different perspective than anything you'll ever find on the media. So yeah, go check out Phil Brown's video on that. So Phil Brown 7, Faye put it here in the chat for us. So that's really awesome. So yes, go and check that out. And this is what concerns me. So with the Ukraine, not knowing anything, you don't even need to know anything about the Ukraine. What you need to know, what's more important to understand now, is how the media has been treating everything. So in Canada, the media has been lying. They lied about COVID. They lied about the vaccine passport, for example. I made a video early in 2021 saying they're coming at us with the vaccine passport. My video got taken off of YouTube, and I got a strike for that. And it was because I was providing medical misinformation. And literally 6 months later, the Canadian government came out and announced the Vax passport, including that $1 billion for each province that was going to go with it. So the Vax passport was a reality, but they said it was false at first. They said it was not going to happen. Basically, the entire way our media has been conducting everything has been a lie. And when I now look at the way they're conducting the propaganda with regards to the Ukraine, I have to wonder, is this a lie? Are they lying about this? I don't know. I don't know if they are. I don't know much about Ukraine, like I said, and I'm not going to make a video about that. But is it possible that our media is again propagandizing, whether they're withholding information, only showing us what they want us to see, flat out lying, a combination of all three? Is it possible that that's what's happening with Ukraine? Or is it magically that the Ukraine, it's all truth and only the truth from now on from the media and the politicians? These are real important questions to have. And this is where, based on the past information we've gotten from our media and from our political class who has been controlling the media, I don't know what I can believe anymore. We don't know anymore. So anytime you look at the Ukraine situation, the messages from the Ukraine, remember, they're banning anything from Russia, which will mean also any information coming in from Russia. We're not allowed to see that side of the story. And also, they're going to manipulate this war in their favor. So knowing that, how is it that we can trust the media? So I don't know. It's not possible, in my opinion, to trust anything they say anymore. So yeah, and David, I see, yeah, the MSN is just absolutely brutal. I don't even know anymore what to believe. But there's a couple of things. So I wanted to go over a few things of how they've been conducting the propaganda machine, which is now oriented at Russia. It used to be COVID for 2 years nonstop. And then it was for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it was the truckers. And now it's this. It's almost like they're directing you. They're saying to you, you need to look at what we're telling you to look at. Don't look at anything else. Just look at what we're looking at. So just to show you here, we are now sending anti-tank weapons and ammunitions to Ukraine. Now, remember, this is Canada. This is the same government who's saying to you that they're going to take back some of your assault weapons or whatever they're called. Jim, what are they called? What's the proper name?
ARs,
Not ARs, but the other one. What are they called? Firearms? Firearms is the proper way, right?
Well, yeah, that's everything though.
Yeah, firearms. So they're coming out with specific firearms that they want to ban in Canada. And these are from legal gun owners. So while they're taking away the guns from the legal gun owners, they're also sending anti-tank weapons and ammunition to the Ukraine. And I was looking at what this was. I think I still have it up. Let me see. This. You guys see this picture right here? This is that anti-tank weapon that they're sending to the Ukraine. So they're telling you, and of course in the Ukraine, it's not just going to the army, it's going to everybody, right? The own Ukrainian government has sent a whole bunch of weapons. I don't know if they were assault rifles. I don't even know what kind of guns they were, but they gave their own people guns to fight this war. So of course, this is going to, these are going to end up in the hands of military. They're going to end up in the hands of gangs, the Ukrainian gangs. They're going to, of course, get a couple of these Canadian anti-tank, whatever they're called. What are they called? Anti-tank weapons. And of course, we are sending that while at the same time removing semi-automatic weapons from Canadians because they deem that Canadian legal gun owners should no longer have those guns. This is something that I cannot stand. A government promoting violence and all of that within another democracy while in-house removing weapons from legal owners. This is something I can't stand. So this is one of the things that I wanted to show to you. We're sending that. Another thing that has to do, and I don't know if, let me see if I can find this article really quickly here for you guys. It was the Chrystia Freeland giving $100 million. Let me just see if I can find it. I don't know if I'll find it, but there was, oh yeah, here it is. So she's sending $100 million to the Ukraine, probably more. And then at the same time, she says that Canadians need to brace for economic collateral damage as sanctions mount. So, I mean, again, I think part of this is going to be pinning the downfall of the COVID policies on the war with Ukraine. I have no doubt about that. This is what they are lining us for. But they are, again, when I was saying you don't even need to know anything about the Ukraine. And honestly, if you want to know about the history of Ukraine, you probably have to go back to the what is it called in English? Austro-Hongrois, Austro-Hungarian Empire, to start looking there about the different countries that were there and who was owned by who, and then go into the start of the First World War and then Second World War, and then you end up with the Ukraine, the USSR, and then the Ukraine. And that's how you get there. There's all these, the European countries have these old alliances that keep coming back to the surface once in a while and start wars all over again. This has been going on in Europe since they had the medieval ages. So it's no secret, it's no surprise to anybody. This has been going on, and it's always going to be the way. So without knowing anything about the Ukraine, you don't even need to know. You need to know how the media has been portraying things. So we know that based on that, they're now saying Canadians should brace for economic collateral damage. Now, could it be they're going to try to pass this off as the COVID failures? And I'm just putting these questions out there. Everybody gets to make up their own mind, because we are in a free society in Canada, despite what our government says. And we have the right to think this way, and we have the right to ask questions and to go against the narrative. This is part of being in a free society, and I'm going to take full advantage of that right so long as I breathe. So here, question for you guys. What do you think? Are they going to use this to cover up the COVID miscalculations, like all of the fiasco resulting from the COVID, the financial side, and pin it on the war with the Ukraine? While at the same time, they're also donating money to the Ukraine. Right now, we only know about $100 million, but what if it's more? What if it's an ongoing amount that they're going to send there? Who knows? Who knows what's going on? And again, to tie this back to the conflict of interest, Chrystia Freeland is Ukrainian descent. How does she have the ability to make these decisions without being pinned as having a blatant conflict of interest? These are all things that I do not understand how this is happening. And I don't know, Jim, did you catch anybody in the chat talking about the conflict of interest? Did you see anything about the conflict of interest in the chat? I haven't had a chance to see in there, but anyways, yeah, the transfer of wealth of Trudeau. Yeah, exactly. Sending our money out to the Ukraine. And it's not that I don't want to help countries in need. It's that the person sending out the money, making the decision about that, is someone from that country. And here's another question for everybody. Here's another question. What about the fact that we have in Canada both a certain amount of Russians and Ukrainians? Like, what are we going to do with the Russians? Are we going to sanction them? Are we going to put them all on the CSIS list and to be looked after to make sure that they're not importing anything, or that they're not looking or doing anything, or starting some kind of a war here with the Ukrainians? Like, this is another question. What about in Canada? We're supposed to be Canadians, but yet we have a chunk of Russians and a bigger chunk of Ukrainians here. So what's going to happen with these. They still consider themselves Ukrainians. We saw the parade last week. You saw the parade on the weekend where Chrystia Freeland was there at the Ukrainian parade. So we do have people that still consider themselves to be Ukrainian backers. I don't know, backbencher, I don't know, whatever the football term is for a supporter, a cheerleader, but yet they're Canadians now. So what's going to happen between all of these people? As Canada, shouldn't we just all be Canadians? And if we have somebody from a different country or descendant from a different country, that person should not be the person making the decisions. Oh, NATO's gone full woke. That is not surprising in any way. And hold on, I wanted to see here. There's an interesting comment here from the Ferocious Frog. My guess is that Freeland is Liberals to win Ukrainian diaspora votes in the next federal election. They already have them. I honestly think they already have the Ukrainian votes just by sheer virtue of Freeland being from Ukraine or her family, whatever it is. So there were more people there than the freedom marches on Saturday. Yeah, and that's true. That's true. I saw some footage, and yeah, the freedom marches, and this is an important point to keep in mind. We need to keep these freedom marches going in Canada. We cannot let this die off just because some of the restrictions are being lifted. We need to do this until we have no more threat from our government that these mandates can be reimposed. And so far, as far as I can tell, they're already threatening to reimpose these mandates in the fall. So starting September, when people are back in school, they're going to bring back these threats. These, I call them threats because it really is an attack on us civilians. But they're going to bring back the mask mandates, and they potentially will bring back the vaccine mandates. So this is where it now we are in a position to fight, and we need to keep fighting. So this is what I mean when I say we can't lose sight of what's happening in Canada, because I was talking to Jim earlier, and I was telling him it almost feels like this is kind of like a magic trick that Canada's doing, where, you know, the politicians are like this magician at the top, and they're all saying, okay, ooh, look over here at the Ukraine, you know, look at my beautiful assistant here, the Ukraine. And while everybody's looking at the assistant, they're going in the back, and then they're doing all sorts of other stuff at the same time in order to fool us. And I honestly feel this is what our Canadian government is doing right now. The Ukraine is the sidekick, and they are using it, and they are going to do all sorts of other stuff in the back end. And I wanted to show you some of the things that concern me that is going on in the back end, and that they are not, that we are not, this is not in our face, and they're going to go with it while we're not looking, while all of our attention is on the Ukraine. So here, this isn't CBC, and this is the only reason I'm comfortable showing this up to you guys on YouTube. But this is a huge, and if you want my opinion on this, I don't know if you care, but to me, this is a bombshell. This is a huge thing. And this isn't even the biggest bombshell this week, but this is a bombshell in itself. But now they've just come out, this is this week, they've come out saying Pfizer BioNTech vaccine less effective against infection in kids, studies suggest. So how is this not a crisis in itself? So now they're finding, I'll show you right here, that the vaccine efficacy is what they're talking about. And it declined from 68% down to almost nothing now. So already 68% vaccine efficacy against a disease that a child has a 99.997 chance of surviving. To me, that already would not be worth it. But they didn't say it was 68% efficacy. They said, they came out at us saying it's effective and safe. And now we found out, okay, it was only 68% effective. And now it's down. It's down to 12%. 12%. How there is not a revolution in Canada right now in our streets about this is beyond me. I will never understand this. How is there not people revolting in the street? You told us to inject our kids. A lot of parents injected their kids, and it went from a 68% efficacy to 12%. And you think that's acceptable? And, instead of saying, let's pull back on the vaccine, let's reassess, and let's not do this anymore, what they're doing is they're saying, this is their conclusion. This is the conclusion of a madman. Only an insane person can think this way, in my opinion. These results highlight the potential need to study alternative vaccine dosing for the children. So they're not coming out saying, oh, we totally messed up, guys, by the way. We fucked up your kids. They're coming out saying, we now need to look at the dosing. Not the vaccine, just the dosing. Should we give them more? Are you talking about giving them more? It's insane. And while they're saying, they're like, well, because our vaccine failed after we told you it was going to be successful and all you needed was to vaccinate your kids and COVID would disappear. Now they're saying they need layered protection, including wearing a mask to prevent infections. So my question is, who are these researchers? Who are these people that come out saying one thing, then completely change their mind once the actual results are out? And never acknowledge the fact that they literally just use your kids as guinea pigs in their scientific experiment. Where is that? Where is that part of this? You told us the vaccine was safe and effective. And now you're telling us it was only 68% effective. We're not going to talk about the safety part. And it's down to 12% after 6 weeks. I am just beyond infuriated. Like, I have to make sure that I don't let my blood boil over this one, because this is just pure insanity to me. And how the Canadians are not more upset by this? How is it that we are more upset with how they're treating kids in the Ukraine when we literally have our Canadian government coming out saying, we experimented on your kids and kind of failed, so now we're going to look at more dosages? This is what this article is saying, and this is in the CBC. This is not Julie going off on some like nefarious article found on the dark web. This is the CBC coming out with this. I'll never understand our country again. If we do not fight for this, I will never understand our country. And if we're okay with this, then I'm okay with Canada going down. If you don't even want to protect the kids and collectively we decide that this is okay, you know what? Shut it all down, like whatever. Put me in a camp, because I just can't even, I cannot deal with this society anymore. This is too insane for me. But that's not even it. So you guys saw too that the Pfizer was leaked. I can't show that one on YouTube, so you're going to have to Google it. But if you go on literally any Telegram account, you'll see it shared over there. And so this was starting at page 30 of this leaked document. I call it the 2096 document because that's the document that should have been released it should have been released in 2096 is when they were intending on releasing it. But there was an injunction. Some court somewhere decided to put a Information Act and requested this document to be released. I don't know if this was leaked or if it was released, but I thought I heard it was leaked. But anyways, this is the Pfizer document. So go look for it on Telegram. Starting at page 30, there are 9 pages of side effects. 9 pages. This, if you couple this with back in October 2021, there was an FDA presentation where they actually showed it was Pfizer and they showed the side effects, and myocarditis was listed as one, and the FDA still approved this vaccine to go ahead. So for the kids. So we had this, and for everybody actually, but the myocarditis was very obvious. And now we have this document. So this is kind of the smoking gun. This is proof that they knew that this was happening, that these side effects would come about. And they went ahead with the vaccine anyways. Even further in the bombshell world is that we now found out as well that the Moderna has some code embedded in the COVID disease that dates back from 2016. So 3 years before this was unleashed on us, they found it. And I think it's a 1 in 3 trillion chances of it being a fluke, meaning that it's obvious that the Moderna code was in there. So Moderna helped create this virus, and then they helped create the solution for this virus. Now we find out that Pfizer knew about all these side effects and hid it and tried to hide it until most of us would be dead anyways, 2096. And now the CBC just came out saying the efficacy for the kids is not even worth it, the vaccine. 12% efficacy against a disease that you have a 99.997 chance of surviving. as a child. All of these put together in 1 week, no wonder they're trying to get your attention on the Ukraine, right? This is not even a mystery to me. Ukraine is the magic trick they're trying to get your attention on while all of these things are coming out, and they're trying to bury it in the news so that you don't pay attention to that. It's horrific. These are crimes against humanity. Just in case you were thinking, okay, oh yeah, so it's not a leak. Sorry, let me just catch up on the chat here. Not a leak, it was a release. Yeah, so it's the official release, right? So this is the government, the order from the court releasing this. They were supposed to be released in 2096 is what Pfizer had asked for. So, yeah. And true, this is another good point over here. Moderna never made a product for human consumption before this inoculation. And if you wonder, like, I'm not a scientist, but you wonder how, and none of this is medical information, but this is just a generic question. How did they come up with a vaccine so quickly for a company that never made a vaccine? Now we know. They were working on it for since 2016 at least. We know that. So yeah, so not a hack, but a release. They actually released it on purpose. Ordinary Ukrainians are forced to become cannon folders just so a few powerful can get richer. Yeah. And who knows what's going on in the Ukraine. Like, I feel bad for the everyday Ukrainian, just like I'm sure the everyday Ukrainian feels bad for the everyday Canadian, because they watch us and they're like, oh, you guys are losing your freedoms too. So the everyday people are the ones that always end up suffering for this. This Quebec's demise, the RNA causing DNA changes in people's livers, and it's not just the liver, it's the brain. Every major organ, the heart, the brain, everywhere, and the blood clots as well. But yes, this also came out as part of the whole Moderna/Pfizer leaks this week, or exposures this week. So yeah, we haven't gotten into detail on that, and people can look into that. I'll leave it up on the screen for a while, and if you want to do your own research, you can go look into that. But yeah, this week has been pure insanity in what we have just found out on what is really going on. And yet, the only thing we're hearing about is that we're going to send some bazookas over to Ukraine, whatever. Like, I don't even know the weapon we just saw there. We're going to send the ammunition. We're going to send the money. And while all this is happening, we're protesting against Russia on behalf of the Ukraine here in Ottawa. So somehow the protests are okay again. I guess if you don't honk your horn at the Ukrainian protest, the Russian protest, you're okay. But yeah, somehow now the protests are okay. And Chrystia Freeland was there. So here's another question. And this is, again, just a question. Why is Chrystia Freeland at that protest, but she couldn't bother to come out once to meet with the truckers at their protest? They were there for 3 weeks. The Ukrainian protest was only there for 1 day. How is it possible that you're okay to go to that, but you can't find 1 hour to come to the truckers' protest? Again, question, what the hell? So, okay, so as if the vaccine problems were not big enough, I wanted to let me just clean up this over here, because I wanted to check a few things out. There's a couple of things that are happening that I think we also need to make sure we keep an eye on. And again, please do your own research. You don't have to believe a word of anything I say. I am just putting information out here. Charlotte. Oh, hi, Charlotte. Yes, I'm so glad you're here. I saw you earlier in the chat and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to say hi to Charlotte. Yes, hi, Charlotte. I hope you're doing well on your end. So now, so remember the magic trick, which is the Ukraine, the beautiful assistant of the Canadian government right now is the Ukraine, and the government is the magician in my analogy. Now, what is the magician doing up his sleeve while we're not watching? Well, here is what they're doing. And all of these acts were pushed in before, but we have to remember that they will be looking at this stuff now more than ever. So the first one we want to look at is CTEM. So this is the Broadcasting Act. This is the act where they're trying to bring everybody under the CRTC, which is the, oh God, I'm not even going to know what that means. Let me bring that up for you guys here, the CRTC. The Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications. So this is where this act here, they want to amend the Broadcasting Act to bring in anybody who's on social media into this, under this legislation. And what that means is, you know, for example, I'm just a small YouTube channel. They could come for me and say, well, you need to make, 20% of your content has to be in French. And you also have, you're going to be banned because we just don't like what you're talking about. That's probably what I'm going to say realistically. But, those are the kinds of things that they could do. So once they bring it under the CRTC, now you're under that kind of legislation and you lose the freedom to talk about what you want. And my channel, I come here, I talk about what I want. I have nobody puppeteering me in the background. I'm not related to any media. I'm not related to any politician. I just do my own thing by myself. And today with Jim in the background helping me. So that is pretty much, that's it. I'm not in any way affiliated to anything. But in the future world of this C10, if this does go through, I could actually be completely banned from this. I wouldn't even qualify for CRTC. So that's one of the bills. So look up Bill C10. I'm going to show you another one. This is Bill C11, an act to enact the Consumer Privacy Protection Act. So this one, at first I wasn't quite clear what the connection was until I started looking into what the overview was. So I'm going to see here. So I believe that this is Privacy Commissioner's new authority to conduct inquiries into alleged violations under the Privacy Act. So I believe this is the act where they would actually, it's almost, is this the one, guys, that is it's the Pre-Crime Unit Act of Canada. I believe this is it. It's not this one. Yeah, maybe this one is as well. But this one, if you suspect a privacy problem, you could actually be reported and then they can come after you for that. So this is what it is. Oh, Derek's in the chat. Oh, hi, Derek. See, Jim just flagged you. Jim flagged you over, Derek. He's like, Derek's in here. You better say hi now. So are you sure that Bill C10 here is renamed Bill C11? Because I have both of them. Maybe they are. Yeah, maybe they are. I thought there were two different ones because they were tabled at different times. But anyways, maybe I'm wrong on that. But again, like I said, do your own research. You don't have to take anything that I'm saying. So Gary might be 100% right here. But yeah, so this is where disclose an individual's personal information to government without their knowledge. So anyways, this is another one where they want to look at the privacy. And the problem I have with this one is that I don't know where this act will end. Once the government gets access to this kind of things when it comes to privacy, they actually have the limitless power to use it now. So, a benevolent leader would use it for good, but a corrupt leader like we have now, Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland, they're absolutely corrupt. They would use this to serve their own goals and not, it wouldn't be anything good for any of us. So these powers include the authority to compel the production of records and enter private places, to examine records and converse with individuals in the places entered. The Privacy Commissioner would be allowed to share information with certain federal regulatory bodies. So it's basically a spying act, I guess you could put it that way. So it looks to me like Bill C10 would be more where you're being tracked. It's like a tracking. This is my interpretation of that. So I'm not sure if you all agree. And again, I fully encourage everybody to do their own. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how to always interpret this, but I'm just by reading this really, Bill C11 to me looks like it is an overreach into your private data, and it could be used as such. And private data is not just data, it's like where you are, right? So if you're trying to go somewhere, they could actually track you that way. So look into that, Bill C11. There's another one here, Bill C36. We've already talked about Bill C36. I've made a video about that one like last year. It's been been tabled for a while. But this is the criminal code. This is the pre-crime bill. This is where they're going to look at amending the criminal code to include sections where if somebody suspects you of maybe potentially doing something, they can report you and then you'd be picked up by the police for that. So you can look again this one, but this is another one of their magic tricks that they're doing in the back end while we're all obsessed about the Ukraine and distracted with the Ukrainian war. They're looking at passing these laws here in Canada. This is not new. These are not new laws, but I'm just saying if I were in the halls of power and I was a nefarious, like evil person, I would definitely look at passing all of these bills here while everybody's looking at the Ukraine. So that's all I'm saying here. Just keep those in mind. This one is the scariest of one. Well, they're all scary, but this one is really bad. A national framework for guaranteed livable basic income. This one is very recent. Look at the date here. November 22nd, 2021. It's called S233. And this bill is basic income. Everybody gets an income. Now, you don't have to be a genius to understand that if you have an income from the government, you de facto work for the government. They can tell you what to do. They can cut off your income at any point when they feel like it. So if you didn't get the 6th booster, they can say, well, we're going to cut away your income that we're providing you until you get the booster. So this could be it. So this, in its face, I can understand why some people might think, oh, this might be a really good idea. Look at that. Everybody gets income. But the reality of this law is true evil. It is absolute evil. It means the government now owns you. It owns your time and your production value. So very, very dangerous here. This is a Soviet-style law. They got basic income in Soviet era, but they also were told what to do and where to go. So I don't want that in Canada, and I'm afraid that this is the kind of thing they're going to be looking at passing while we're distracted. Okay, so a couple more things that we're going to go through today. This is just based on what's been coming out this week. And I'm hoping that I have this roughly. Oh, see, this is the Ukraine I was looking for, the $100 million to the Ukraine, because Canadians are so rich now. We have so much money that we can just afford to just shell it out. So yeah, we're going to just take a quick look at what other things have been going on. So now that they're removing the vaccine mandates across Canada in different provinces, now there's a question coming up with the unvaccinated employees who were laid off or put on leave of absence or an undetermined amount of leave. This becomes a real question in terms of how we're thinking about our employers now. What's going to happen? We have these people basically fired for not giving up their body autonomy, not going along with what the government was mandating, now being potentially asked to come back to work. This is a whole new dynamic we've never seen in Canada. We have never seen this. And it's both from the employee side, but the employer side. How does the employee trust that the employer will never do this again? They can't, right? The trust is broken at that level. And how does the employer, welcome back an employee that they left out? Like, they basically spat on those people. That's how I view it. For not being vaccinated, these people were put on forced leave and they were basically treated as second-class citizens. They lost their jobs, they lost their income. They were basically spat upon. If you want to put like a visual to it, that's how I see it. How do you now look at that employee again and say, yeah, welcome back in the workforce. I know I spat on you before and I treated you like ultimate garbage, but just come back and make sure that you put in your overtime and make sure that you show up on time. Like, this is a weird, this whole thing now is broken. Everything is broken. And that doesn't even factor in the colleague scenario, right? So of course, now you know who the unvaccinated are because they're coming back after being placed on leave. And now you have to work alongside them. And a lot of these people on the left, they believe that if you are unvaccinated, you're like this carrier of disease. They completely fail to realize that themselves, they can carry COVID-19 and they can transmit it. So how is that relationship going to be? It feels like there's going to be a lot of contention in the workplaces in Canada. And this is not something that I've ever seen before. And It's nothing that I ever even thought would happen in Canada. So very disturbing there. Here's some other news here. First Canadian vaccine approved for COVID. Okay, what? Why? Guys, 90%, what is it, 86% across Canada, across Canada are double jabbed, and a whole chunk of those guys are boosted. Why are we getting more vaccines now? Didn't they already buy a whole lot of like Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for until 2023? And now they're saying first Canadian vaccine approved for COVID-19. The reason I find this one so alarming, so this is the plant-based ones, and look, it's almost like this is the propaganda right here. They're trying to show you, oh, look, there's plants, like it's not dangerous at all, guys. And I've heard Justin Trudeau say that the reason they're going with this is because they're trying to convince the people who are afraid of the mRNA vaccines to get this vaccine. But I'm like, now we're watching the failure of the Pfizer vaccine that also just came out this week, while Canada is approving a Canadian vaccine, plant-derived virus particles. And why are they doing this now? Why is this being approved? Okay, let's look at all the sides. Maybe this was in the works for the last 2 years and it finally got approved now, and they were hoping that people would be taking the vaccine. But the fact that it's being approved right now, to me, indicates that there are some future plans to mandate this. I think this is what they're going to do. The Canadian government is going to come out in a few weeks and they're going to say, or in the fall of 2022, they're going to say, look, you had the mRNA shots, you didn't like those, we approved for you a plant-based vaccine, and now we're going to mandate it for every Canadian. And if you do not get the vaccine, you do not get your salary, you do not get your job, you do not get EI, you cannot take a bus, you cannot take a plane, you cannot take a train, you cannot go anywhere, you cannot even go to the grocery store anymore. This is, to me, this feels very, very wrong. It feels like they're setting us up to say in the future, you have no reason not to take this vaccine anymore. And this concerns me gravely, that this vaccine here is approved when we already have an 86% nationwide vaccine rate for this. And we've already proven that the vaccines don't stop COVID. They might lessen the actual effects of COVID, but they don't prevent hospitalizations. They don't prevent transmission. They don't prevent you from getting it. Literally everybody I know that has, I shouldn't say everybody, almost everybody I know that has gotten the vaccine has also gotten COVID. And to me, it shows there is no point in the vaccine if you can still get it. And there's definitely no point in forcing it on people if you can still transmit it. So again, the first vaccine rollout was an epic failure, and now they're trying to go at it with a second vaccine rollout of a different kind. And I don't know why they think they're going to get the approval and the trust of the Canadians on this one. The people who didn't want the vaccine until now, who've held out till now, they're not just going to sit back and go, oh, look at all these plants. It's amazing. I'm going to get the vaccine because it's plant-based. The whole idea around the vaccine mandates is we do not want the government to force us to take injections we don't want. They have no right over our bodies, and that is it. There's no right of a government to inject anything. So anyways, this is why I'm deeply concerned by this, and it happened to have been approved in the past week as well in Canada. A few other things. We've already looked at this ammunition. We looked at this guy with his anti-tank. I believe that is it. That is all I had. Oh my gosh, that's like the most like abrupt end to a stream that I've ever done. That is pretty much all I had today. So I don't know what you guys think about everything that we've seen today. I think everything we have here is alarming, and I'm very concerned about Canada. And I wanted to make sure that I voice the idea that we cannot lose focus of what is happening here. A lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and what I've shown you today, there's probably like 25% more things that are happening that I'm not even aware of, because it's all being done behind secret doors in the government. So again, the Ukraine, yes, it's a tragedy. I don't like war anywhere, but we cannot just use that as an excuse to blindly close eyes on what is happening in Canada. So the freedom convoys must continue. They must continue until we are sure that the government will never do this to us again. Mandate vaccines, mandate some masks, mandate that you stop working. This is unconstitutional and it is un-Canadian. And I really hope that this never happens again. And our freedom convoys, they must continue until we know for a fact that something is put in place that this cannot happen anymore. Because I can guarantee that if we don't do that, these powers will be abused again very, very soon. So anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining tonight. And I will see everybody in the next stream, which might be on the weekend. But have a good rest of the week and tune in. And thank you to Jim for doing the stream tonight with me. He was in the background, but thank you very much. And thank you to all of you for coming and joining me. Cheers, guys. Love you all.